You've probably heard this term floating around Chinese media lately, the Great Bank Deposit Migration. Here's what it means. In July, Chinese household savings suddenly dropped by over 1.1 trillion yuan. That's more than 150 billion US dollars just disappearing from bank accounts. At the same time, deposits in non-bank financial institutions, think brokerages, investment funds, shadow banks, surged by over 2 trillion yuan. Meanwhile, the Shanghai Stock Exchange shows nearly 2 million new stock trading accounts were opened in July, back-to-back monthly increases. Margin financing, basically people borrowing money to buy stocks, has hit a 10-year high of 2.09 trillion yuan, and daily trading volume has been holding above 2 trillion yuan. So what's going on? Experts are calling it a dangerous shift. Professor C. Tian from the University of South Carolina said Chinese household savings are massive, and that's always been a headache for the Communist Party because money just sitting there doesn't make money for them. So the regime uses propaganda or trickery to find ways to pull that money out. This time, with deposits dropping by 1.1 trillion, people were likely lured into stocks, real estate, or other schemes. When interest rates on deposits fall, ordinary people lose the incentive to save and look for riskier investments. The CCP will do anything, absolutely anything, to pump up the economy. At the same time, Professor Fan Jiacheng at National Taiwan University said that China's economy is in serious decline, so the regime has loosened monetary policy, cutting interest rates and flooding the market with liquidity. But here's the catch. That cash isn't going into real businesses or consumer spending. Instead, people and companies remain pessimistic, hoarding money or shifting it into bonds and stocks. Fan pointed out the contradiction. The real economy is collapsing, but the stock market looks like it's thriving. He said the CCP needs something to show off, so they pump up the stock market. But if it rises too far above fundamentals, the crash will be devastating. The bigger the gap between stock prices and reality, the higher the risk of collapse. Chinese investors should be very cautious. Right now, China is dealing with deflation. Prices are falling, and when people expect prices to keep dropping, they delay spending and investment. That slows economic growth, reduces company profits, and increases unemployment, making recovery even harder. Meanwhile, the stock market rises, disconnected from economic fundamentals like actual earnings and growth. Any negative news or sudden change in investor confidence could trigger a large-scale market crash. Professor Fan warns, the risk is that individuals go bankrupt, companies go bankrupt, financial institutions go bankrupt. When a lot of units collapse at the same time, that's a really serious outcome. Here's another layer. According to China's Oriental Wealth website, by January 2025, per capita deposits had crossed 100,000 yuan. Back in 2020, Premier Li Keqiang said the average monthly income for 600 million Chinese people was around 1,000 yuan. That's roughly $150. So this migration of deposits is really coming from a relatively small, upper-middle-class slice of society. The housing market is in freefall. Prices have been halved and are still dropping. China's middle class, once obsessed with property speculation, has seen their wealth shrink dramatically. Many who still have cash, or those who are almost broke but gambling on a comeback, are throwing money into a stock market that the government paints as thriving. When the fish gather, it's almost time to haul in the net. And when that happens, both the stock and real estate markets could crash at once, plunging China into darkness. And the lower-income population, they haven't escaped the crisis either. Where's their money going? Here are some voices from ordinary people.
这是我人生中第一笔工资，我手颤抖着打开，我手颤抖着打开，732块5毛4。啊！我记这个数字记一辈子。我工作一整年，存了3700块钱。
挣钱太费劲了，现在是凌晨2点13分。我为了跑一单多赚1块钱，1块钱而已呗，我得多跑出6、7公里呀。
是谁把武汉搞成了这个样子了？商场里面的柜员比逛街的人还多，大街小巷都没有人，越来越多的店铺都关门倒闭了。现在是上学的为成绩发愁，上班的为业绩发愁，创业的为发工资发愁，很多人失业躺在家里半年都没有活干，各行各业都在恶性竞争，到最后谁都没挣到钱，这到底是哪里出了问题啊？
Even government-funded jobs, once admired for stability and benefits, are now barely livable. In Haikou, Hainan, a public service job pays 2,700 yuan for a bachelor and 3,000 yuan for a master. But after social security deductions, a bachelor takes home just over 2,000 yuan a month. Everyone is working hard, yet still living on the edge. Ordinary folks, especially young people, used to be the paycheck-to-paycheck crowd, spending every dime as soon as it hit their account and living for the moment. Later, they turned into credit card junkies, maxing out loans and cards, borrowing just to chase fleeting pleasures. From live concerts to online streaming subscriptions, from Michelin-starred restaurants to group-buy meal deals. And now, it's all about radical budget living. Picture this. Back then, when picking up your kid from school, you'd buy 2 skewers of grilled sausage, one for them, one for you. Now, you buy just one, eat it yourself, and only then go pick up your kid. Even businesses are changing to match this new reality. In Lujiazui, Shanghai's financial heart, the very center of the center, you can now find buffet-style lunchboxes for just 10 yuan. Milk tea shops advertise bargain cups for 2.9 yuan. And yes, even Michelin restaurants have rolled out poor man's menus. A stripped-down set meal for 398 yuan. And when people try to spend, be prepared to get gouged. Restaurants practice dual pricing. Locals one rate, tourists another. Easily hundreds of yuan difference. Seafood markets are notorious. You might get half the weight you pay for, or a live fish instantly swapped for a dead one in a blink. Call the cops? Useless. Protection fees are already paid. Corruption is baked in. Ordinary merchants cheat. Officials cheat. The economy slides downhill. Case in point, on August 19th, a tourist in Hainan tried to rest on a beach chair only to be repeatedly charged a seat fee. 1 yuan per minute, more expensive than parking. Netizens joked even bandits would be impressed. The Communist Party is that ruthless at making money. The party's coffers are empty, yet CCP officials and their children, relatives, and cronies have long grown accustomed to a lifestyle of unimaginable luxury. They loot from every corner, rewrite laws at will, and even seize social security funds to feed their greed. No matter how many new schemes they invent to squeeze money out of the people, it's never enough. State media posted that the party and government are leading by example in tightening belts to help ordinary people. You know, the CCP has always loved this whole window dressing economy game. They'll toss $60 billion at Africa just to flex, just to save face. But when they go on state media and basically admit they're dirt poor, that means they're not just struggling. They're poor as hell, poor to the bone. And since cussing them out online just gets your account zapped, people head to the comments instead. That's where you'll see a flood of memes, and with the CCP running the show, total chaos everywhere. What's going to be the thing that finally takes the party down? The stock market crash, the housing meltdown, the floods and droughts, the pandemics, the violent crackdowns, maybe the kidnappings and organ trafficking happening right out on the street, or most likely the sheer survival crisis crushing everyday people. Bottom line, the CCP already lit the fuse with its own hands, and there's no putting it out. At the same time, Hong Kong's richest man, Li Ka-shing, has been offloading assets in both mainland China and Hong Kong. Reports say Li Ka-shing has sensed danger. Even the wealthiest are preparing to leave. Meanwhile, China's middle class, blind to reality, still dreams of getting rich quick. The lower class, with no savings and no means to escape, is trapped. As the building teeters on the edge, what can people do? The first step is to recognize the lies, reduce personal harm, and understand the system at play.